sounded inside her, rhythmic, unyielding. "Just let Win in, for Christ's sake! Give me a minute." Betty lifted her hands out of the bath, letting the needle float to the bottom, and grasped the sides to haul herself upright. Her whole chest and swelling stomach were red, scorched from the water. A heavy flood of scarlet ran down her thighs, life draining away. Her head spun, and the bathroom went dark before instantly reappearing, as if the light had been suddenly switched on. She stuffed the rags she used for her monthly between her thighs to stem the flow, cautiously stepped out of the bath, and winced. The vomit wouldn't go down the plug hole. Fragments of pee and a piece of gristle stuck in a net of matted hair. She knelt on the floor and leant over the side of the bath. She retched again. Betty pushed the bloody tip of the knitting needle into the gaps of the plug hole to push the food down, sweeping the blood and debris along the bottom of the bath. The stained water pirouetted into the drain. With a towel wrapped round her and the bottle and knitting needle hidden inside, she cracked open the door. It was instantly pulled out of her hands by Winnie as she rushed into the room, skirt already raised, knickers around her ankles. Betty watched her as the torrent of yellow urine streamed between her chubby legs, splashing into the porcelain. The smell rose up, fresh but repulsive. She could feel the throbbing pain and heat between her own legs and her sister's inquisitive stare as she waddled down the passage to their bedroom, careful not to let the rags slip. She lay on the bed and faced the wall, clutching her legs into her chest, trying to breathe through the agony, trying not to cry. The sickness never quite went away. The bleeding stopped and the pain receded into a small knot in her stomach, but the nausea was always under the surface. Betty couldn't eat. Sitting at the kitchen table, watching the others slurp sticky egg yolks, she imagined the yolk as a half-formed chick being eaten alive, smeared on stiff bread, drawn into open, hungry mouths. She lay up on the top bunk bed in the room she shared with Winnie and Edie, dreaming of semi-formed babies being sucked into a bath plug hole, swimming through the pipes and out to the river. In the evenings, her mother sat in the front room knitting, her two knitting needles rhythmically smashing together. Betty watched her, seeing the needle miss the baby's rosebud mouth and tight nose, and plunge instead through its closed eye, skewering into its brain. But the swelling in her stomach didn't shrink as she hoped. It continued to spread. Betty's pale, unblemished skin stretched to accommodate it. The strange half-formed thing that she'd imagined long gone into London sewers moved inside her, grasping at life. She saw its flesh torn apart, its features grotesque. Betty hid its existence under cotton dresses and long cardigans through that long, wet summer. The tiny mewling creature was born in the same bathroom where it almost met its demise, slithering out into the bath, now empty and cool, but once again stained with blood. Betty smothered its cries in the dark, sleeping house. The knock made Betty start. She'd almost slipped into an exhausted sleep despite the hardness of the bath against her back. "Betty, you all right? I thought I heard something." Her eyes darted around the room, but she already knew there was nowhere she could hide the baby. It lay pink and still, warm where it touched her chest, but its back was already cooling. She'd been wrong all along. It had been a girl. "Betty?" The voice was quiet but held a question. She wasn't going away. Betty took a deep breath. I'm okay, Ma, but you better come in. Hold on." Betty got onto her knees, holding the little body awkwardly with one arm. She used the side of the bath to lever herself up, her hand shaking so much it made her whole body tremble. Blood flooded down her legs into the bath. She watched it spin around and disappear into the plug hole. So much blood. Her head swam, and she used her free arm to steady herself against the side of the bath as she slowly eased out. There was still a memory of the pain between her legs, but nothing like the vice-like agony which had gripped her through the night. Betty adjusted the baby's tiny body in the crook of her left arm and used her right hand to crack open the door. It was even darker in the passage, and she could only just make out her mother's shadow. "Ma," she started, rubbing her forehead. "Are you ill?" asked June, stepping in.